Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Meerkat Muse. I am your host, Ben, aka Daft Timon, aka whatever you want to call me, really. And I come at you on a cold November afternoon. There's no question now that warmer weather is truly behind us now. We're moving into wintry conditions. Before we know it, it will be December. And of course, all the stuff that comes with December. I'm not going to mention that particular word because, in my view, the festive season does not start until December the 1st, and at which point it will start in earnest, as far as I'm concerned. But until December the 1st, no mention of that, as far as I'm concerned. Instead, we're going to look at the last couple of weeks, and let's get rid of the great big orange elephant in the room straight away. As pretty much everyone is aware by now, Donald Trump won the presidential election. He will take up office in January for the second time, of course. And with that has come a host of uncertainties for a great many people. In the wake of his election victory, we've had things such as text messages being sent to people of racial minorities, basically sort of saying that they're going to become slaves, if you can believe that. Quite a horrific sort of gesture, to put it mildly. We've had people posting your body, my choice in relation to women's rights, which is quite sickening when you pause to reflect upon that. And it's interesting, isn't it, that these people have felt emboldened by Trump's victory. They clearly, for whatever reason, feel now is the time to step out of the shadows and to be quite open about their sexism and their racism. It's disturbing, to put it mildly. And you have to ask yourself why they feel now is the time for that kind of thing. There are question marks as to what all this means for the situations in Ukraine and Gaza, in respect of Ukraine in particular. What does this mean in terms of supporting Ukraine against Russia? Well, Trump said that he will end the war in a day. Of course, he hasn't given any specifics to that, but the concern is that he will basically seek to appease Putin by making Ukraine give up territory, which, well, the policy of appeasement is one that we've seen in history, haven't we? And we know where that eventually led. So some concerns there that people have. And he's also appointed, among other things, an anti-vaxxer, or someone who certainly is dubious about vaccines, to become health secretary. He's got Elon Musk in like an advisory role to do with curtailing spending, which is interesting considering the amount of money that Musk has wasted down the years on various vanity projects. And, well, there are concerns, let's put it mildly, that a great many people have for, as far as I'm concerned, entirely legitimate reasons. Not everyone will see it that way, of course. There are people who are celebrating Trump's victory. And that was always going to be the case one way or the other, wasn't it? With an election like this, particularly given how polarised US politics is, you're always going to have one side bursting with joy and the other side being absolutely dismayed. That was always going to be the case. And so it has played out. Just on a little side note, it's interesting. I recently had a bit of a discussion with someone who told me that I need to stay in my lane. And what he meant by this was that I was talking about US politics. He objected to the fact that me, as an Englishman, was talking about US politics and advised me to stay in my lane on said subject. What was interesting about this is he, being an American, had recently passed comments and wrote posts about UK politics. Now, interestingly enough, when I pointed out that hypocrisy to him, my comments were all of a sudden blocked from his site, which is interesting, isn't it? It seems that he doesn't like his hypocrisy being shown in any way, shape or form, and he declined to acknowledge his hypocrisy, which doesn't surprise me, to be fair. But as far as that kind of thing is concerned, the bottom line is I will talk about and write about whatever I want. I don't need to justify that in any way, shape or form to anyone else. It is my right, and I will exercise that right however I please. Do I think sometimes that people maybe shouldn't talk about certain things? Yes, I do think that, but I'm not going to try and restrict them from talking about those things. I might think that they are talking from a position of ignorance. I might even express that feeling that I believe they're talking from a position of ignorance. I mean, I know people, for example, who write about things like parenting and how to raise children, who have no idea what they're talking about, because among other things, they're not parents. And I will say that, and I will say to them that I think that they're coming from a place of ignorance and that they shouldn't really talk about stuff they don't understand. But I'm not going to try and stop them. No, I mean, I couldn't if I wanted to. All I can simply do is sort of put out to them that I think they're coming from a fundamentally flawed place. But I'm not going to try and stop them from voicing an opinion, even if I think their opinion is disastrous. It's their opinion, it's their platform, they can talk about it. Of course, their opinions can be critiqued and will be critiqued, just as I expect my opinions to be critiqued. It's the way of the world, isn't it? But yeah, that was an interesting little back and forth. I just thought that was kind of, in a way, humorous when it all is said and done. What's also kind of all said and done is, well, I say all said and done, there's been a little bit of a saga recently for me involving a jacket, a Linkin Park jacket that I ordered for my wife for Christmas. It arrived the first time around, and just because it was addressed incorrectly, my wife opened it, and she was quite delighted to have it, but then she noticed that it was also wrong. It was incorrectly spelt. What I mean by that is, on the jacket is the name of the late Chester Bennington, former, of course, lead singer of Linkin Park. His name was basically incomplete on the jacket. It was spelt as Chester Benning, so they've missed out the T-O-N at the end for whatever reason. Now, the picture on the website disguises this detail quite cleverly, but it is nonetheless missing, and of course my wife, being a huge Linkin Park fan, was rather put out by this, and so I went down the process of trying to get another jacket or get my money back. Now, apparently these things are made to order, but the reality is they're simply printed to order, not made to order. They're not that personalised, and it would be presumably a simple matter for them to print a new one with the correct spelling. Originally, they tried to insist that it wasn't incorrect, that it was basically kind of sold as Sing sort of thing, but it wasn't. It clearly wasn't. They spelt the artist's name wrong. There's no getting around that. So, a little bit of toing and froing, a little bit of a back and forth. They agreed to send out another jacket. They asked for a £10 donation, so to speak, towards this gesture, which I said I would consider once the new jacket was received. But when the new jacket arrived, it was still incorrect. So now I am fighting for a full refund because I don't see why I should be having to pay out for something which is wrong. Whether or not that pans out, I do not know. I cannot say. But it is nonetheless something that I am trying to do. We'll have to wait and see on that score, just like I'll have to wait and see what happens with a collection I've arranged with my local council. The idea behind this is to have some stuff removed, basically an old bed, old desk, old lawnmower. All of it needs to go, and you can organise with your local council. Well, I can organise with my council. I can't speak for everywhere in the country, of course, for a collection for a fee of larger items. Made the arrangements, left the stuff at my normal collection point as instructed, and it was all still there the following day. What I believe has happened, and I don't know this with certainty, is They didn't take it because someone had left a black sack. Someone else has left a black sack of what appears to be garden waste, which is actually not what you're supposed to do with garden waste anyway, on one of the items to be collected. And such is, bureaucracy gone mad, that the powers that be decided they wouldn't take the stuff on that basis. Moving the black sack wasn't part of their job, and so they didn't move it and didn't take anything. Needless to say, both my wife and I disputed this with the council, and we've been assured that the stuff will be collected this week. We shall see. It's, as far as I'm concerned, it's in a clear, obvious location to be collected. It's our normal collection point. There's nowhere else we can really put the stuff without actually blocking roads and paths. So it's down to the local council to get this one right, collect it as instructed and as I've paid for. Otherwise, again, my viewpoint would be, okay, well, how do I get my money back? Because I've paid for a service which has not been fulfilled. Of course, going down that argument with a local authority will probably be a damn sight more challenging than going down that route with a business. Then again, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how those situations pan out. Other things have been panning out as well, although not necessarily in dramatic, exciting forms. Basically, there's been a lot more in the way of loan trading at work. It simply is what it is. The only thing that I can really do in that respect is to get on with things. There's not much that I can do. I have recently lamented people coming in late into the showroom for one reason or another. It does frustrate me immensely when people kind of swan in shortly before closing time, and they're doing that in a situation where they know full well, or should know full well, what the opening hours are. This is not an environment which you can come into and make a quick decision. You can't pick up anything off the shelf. It's a showroom, so it's a destination store, and people are choosing and planning to arrive late, which, as you can imagine, is very, very frustrating. I want to go home. Those of us who work in retail sales, we don't get paid to stay late. Once we're stuck late, we're on our own time, effectively working for free. And people just need to show a little bit more awareness, I think, of that situation and respect us a little bit more. But I don't expect that particular attitude to change anytime soon. But moving on to more fun territory, my wife, daughter and I did manage to squeeze in a recent cinema trip. We went and saw Paddington in Peru, the third of the Paddington films. And then afterwards we went to an all-you-can-eat buffet where I absolutely stuffed my face far, far too much. But the thing is, I always do when I go to one of these places. If it's all you can eat, my view is, well, let's have lots. And I did. And I will also say that I rather enjoyed the experience as well. I tried to go off the beaten track a little bit here. Went and had some steamed pork buns, sushi, a little bit of sushi, some Korean stuff. I wanted to go away from my usual go-to things that I normally kind of zoom in on in these places. As for the film, it was charming. It was absolutely charming. I don't think that it was as good as Paddington's 1 and 2, but it's impossible not to love the character of Paddington himself. He's such a lovely, warm, friendly, sweet and charming character, without a doubt. And these films are perfect, lovely, adorable family films. There's something for absolutely everyone, for adults and kids alike. They are just beautiful little stories and films I could honestly say are great for a day out. So I absolutely love them and would gladly see it again at some point, without question. In other news, I've been carrying on with some entertaining work of my own, or entertainment work perhaps of my own. I am getting there in terms of editing the Schism, which is the sequel to The Awakening. It's coming along quite nicely. I'm about 25% of the way through the edits, and that's kind of come up on me quite fast. I am, of course, hoping to have all the editing done by the end of 2024, which, if I simply keep at it and keep focused, is more than doable, and I'll get that across to my publisher. I have been hampered a little bit by issues with technology. The laptop that we've got, well, the old laptop, I should say, has had a continued problem with its power connector, and it's becoming virtually unusable. I mean, you can still charge it, you can use it. The trouble is the battery life is quite poor, and because you have to kind of almost perch yourself in exactly the right way for it to stay on charge, it can be awkward to use it on the mains. It's workable, but it's becoming unworkable. So we had to get a new laptop the other day. But to be fair to this new laptop, it's very, very good. It's quite quick. And with luck, it will provide the sort of performance that we need. It certainly means I can now crack on with editing and writing and do those things in a way that will be a lot easier and quicker. So, an unusual moment, really, I guess. It wasn't on the agenda to make such a big spend in the middle of November, but it will certainly prove beneficial in the long run for various reasons, and will make hopefully all of our lives a damn sight easier. That kind of draws us towards the end, really, of this particular Muse cycle. The only thing I can really sort of add at this point is that I continue to lone trade at work, which continues to be a combination of very, very boring and then at times very, very stressful. But it is what it is. I mean, there's not loads that I can do about that particular situation. I don't have the power to kind of just like bring in a new person to help us out. So all we can do is soldier on and just hope for the best. There's nothing else to it, really. So that's that. That's where we're at with this latest Muse cycle. There will, of course, be a written version of this over at meerkatmusings.co.uk, which I hope you check out. I think I am a lot better with the written word than the spoken word, but nonetheless, I enjoy doing these little videos. I think they're a nice way to kind of accompany what I'm writing about at any given time, and just to kind of put my thoughts into more perspective, I guess. So yeah, please check out meerkatmusings.co.uk. If you enjoy these videos, please like and subscribe, of course. And I will, with a bit of luck, find the opportunity to do this again in a couple of weeks' time. Much love to you all. Bye-bye.